Hello and welcome to the Profitable Baker Podcast, the show for bakers who mean business. I'm Annie Bennett, founder of the Home Baking Business Academy, and every week I'll be sharing practical lessons, mindset shifts, and inspiring stories from bakers who are building businesses they love. Because success in this industry isn't about who bakes the fanciest cakes, it's about who builds the strongest business foundations. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to this episode of the Profitable Baker Podcast with me, Annie Bennett. This is the place for bakers who mean business. Now, today we're talking about something that seems simple, but for most bakers, it's one thing that absolutely changes everything in their business. In fact, not just bakers, all business owners. And we're talking about goals. Now, we're not talking about scary corporate spreadsheet, KPI, all that kind of stuff, goals. We're keeping it simple, but we're talking about why so many bakers avoid setting goals and how that avoidance can keep them stuck at hobby level, even when you're working your absolute socks off. Because my mission is to professionalize our industry and to make people realize that they can build a really profitable business. Now, this episode is going to feel uncomfortable in places, but it's also going to be freeing, a bit liberating. Are you ready? Right, let's start thinking about goals. Now, here's the thing I see constantly with lots of bakers that I come into contact with is that they just don't set goals. What I hear are things like, I just want more orders. I just want my business to grow. And of course, those things are absolutely valid, but they're not goals. They're wishes, their feelings and their hopes. Now, let's talk about this phrase, I want more orders. It does sound like a goal. It's where you want to be heading, but it's not a goal. It's vague, it's unmeasurable, gives you nothing to plan around. What do you mean by I want more orders? Do you mean 2? Do you mean 100? Now, without clarity, your brain doesn't know what you're aiming for. So you stay in that constant cycle of reacting to whatever comes in. Now, a real goal will be something like, I want to book 4 celebration cakes per month, or I want to sell 20 treat boxes for Mother's Day. Those give you a direction and a measurement. They focus you and your brain to actually achieving that, and that changes everything. Now, here's where it gets a bit deeper, and here's where it's a bit of Annie tough love coming up, because most bakers say they don't set goals, perhaps because they're too busy, they're too tired, they're too overwhelmed. They don't see the point. They don't see the reason. Now, I am going to put it to you, I'm going to stick my neck out here and say that the reason that most bakers don't write goals, it's a fear of failure. Because when you write something down, when you write a goal down, it becomes real. Soon as your pen hits the paper or that cursor hits that Word document or Excel spreadsheet, it becomes real. And then it becomes something that you can either hit or not hit. And that is quite terrifying. So it's easier just to say, oh, I haven't got any goals, I'll just see what happens. Because the ability to fail there becomes less. You may feel safer with that, but you're also going to be stuck. You're going to be stuck in that cycle of reacting to things. You're going to say yes to everything. And we all know that we shouldn't be saying yes to everything. I know it's easy to say perhaps when you're starting up. There should come a point where you're selective about the orders that you take. Without goals, you can underprice because you're making decisions emotionally, not strategically. You can never get ahead of content because you don't know what you're aiming for. You don't know what's working. You don't know what isn't. You're always reacting. You're never leading. And your business feels like chaos. Now, I know exactly how this feels because this is how I ran my baking business when I first started. As I've often said, I had not the first clue of what I was doing when I first started. And I worked really hard. I really did work really hard. But without those goals, I had no direction. And I always say it's like when you go on holiday somewhere, you have a goal. You have a goal of perhaps where you want to go to, and you pick somewhere where you're going to go. And then you work out how you're going to get there and where you're going to stay. Without a goal, a holiday is going to the end of your road, getting on the first bus that comes along and just seeing where you end up. And that's not a way to have a holiday, is it? Might be quite interesting to see where you end up. But hopefully you can see that with a goal for your business, you can be much more intentional. You can make choices. You're not reacting to what's happening. You are in control. Okay. So you can become a goals person and you can start doing it now. It doesn't need to involve overwhelm. You don't need to have big spreadsheets. You don't need to have color coding or anything like that. You can just write down a few things that you want to achieve. Okay, now here's a few habits that you can get into to help you with your goal setting. So, one is just to choose a goal for next week. So, whenever you're listening to this, think about the next week coming up. What's one thing you want to achieve? Just one thing. Might it be to update your price list? To batch record some social media? Just one thing for next week. That could be your goal. And then what you're going to do is you're going to work out the steps of how to get that goal. Or you could do the 5-minute Monday list. Take yourself aside for 5 minutes on a Monday morning. Give yourself one visibility goal, one business goal, and one personal goal. Just write them down. Because as soon as you write them down, your brain makes them real. And your brain starts to process how you are going to do that. And the thought process then moves on. What about trying some monthly non-negotiables? Pick 2 or 3 repeating goals that support your business. Okay, it could be to do with your social media, could be to do with sending emails, could be to do with raising prices or checking your prices. Okay, these things that can create consistency in your business, because consistency and routine can sometimes really help you run your business. And then at the end of each week, get into the habit of writing down things that you've achieved, things that have gone really well, but also think about things that haven't, because I'm always saying that mistakes and failures are learning opportunities. So think about those things that haven't quite worked and pick a goal, pick an action that will help whatever it was work next time. So overall, I think it's safe to say that goals, they don't restrict you at all. They're not something, oh, I've got to write my goals. What goals do is that they free you up. When you have goals, you stop reacting to everything and you start choosing intentionally. You gain control because you know where you're heading. You know what it is you want to achieve. So you can choose, you can be selective. Yes, I'll do this thing because that will lead me to my goal. No, I'm not going to do that thing because it's not going to help me get towards my goal. You gain clarity because you start to realize the things that are going to take you towards your goal, and things that might be, and I've been really guilty of this in the past, things that are just busy work that make you look busy, make you feel busy, but aren't actually going to get you towards your goal. And the other thing is that you gain confidence, because if you have a goal and you can see that you're achieving that or working towards it and getting towards it, it really builds your business confidence. Goals can also be long term. We're getting towards the end of the year now. And in December, in my Academy membership, we look at goal setting for 2026. And to know the big thing that you're heading for, either throughout the year or perhaps longer term than that, once you know the bigger things, you can then narrow that down into the smaller things, the smaller steps to help you get there. And it's all to do with the small steps. What was that phrase about a journey of 1,000 steps starts with the first one, or something like that? I'm paraphrasing, but you get the idea. So in the Academy, we are talking about goals. Now, I asked my lovely baking community, hello, my lovely baking community, I asked them what their goals were. I asked them whether they had goals, what they want to achieve in 2026, and they've come up with the goods for me. So we have some here. Now, we have one here from the lovely Sugar and Swirls. Now, this is Lowry. Hello, Lowry. I mentioned Lowry, I think, in the first episode, because she is still at school. And she says, 100% my aim is to grow the business to a point I could look at buying premises when I leave school. I mean, fantastic, Lowry. Fantastic. Hopefully, I will either have enough for a decent deposit, 5 years. So she's looking at 5 years here. This is fantastic. Next year, I want to be a bit more selective on events and do what is right for me, not just saying yes to everything. Oh, this girl's going to go far. So she has a 5 year goal and she knows what she needs to do next year to start working towards it. I'm sure we're all behind you there, my lovely. Fantastic stuff. Next, we have Gemma, the lovely Gemma. Hello, Gemma Dobson. She says, I've just launched my floral cake and cupcake range, which I'm so excited about, and fabulous they are too. It's still early days and I'm still learning some of the crafts and skills for some of the other flowers, but I'm very determined and that keeps me going. You know, determined is one of my favorite words, Gemma. And we're all learning, aren't we? All the time. However skilled someone is, there's always room for learning and updating your skills, isn't there? My goals, she says, going forward are to convert or buy a unit so I can become certified gluten-free. Fantastic goal there. Helping people with celiac disease like myself so they're able to have the best celebration with elegant bespoke cakes and cupcakes. I would then eventually like to teach people how to make and create them. With 13 years teaching assistant experience, I think I'd be very good at it too. I think you will too, Gemma. Absolutely. I mean, that's a fantastic goal. She's got a long-term goal there and she knows what she needs to do to work towards it. And Gemma's in the membership as well. So during December, we'll really start to pinpoint some of those goals for her. Who have we got next? Sugar and Spice. Hello, Sugar and Spice. I don't know what your name is, but Sugar and Spice is your business name. Says that my aim for 2026 is to open a cake shed. Then longer term, I'd like a small trailer to attend some venues. Fantastic. The trailer thing is really, really popular, but not so much that it's saturated the industry at all. There are lots and lots of successful businesses that run trailers. So that is a fantastic goal to aim for. And of course, what you'd need to do is work out the costings for it all, then work out what you need to gain profit-wise to work towards building up to that. Fantastic. Next, we come to Anna. Anna says, I'd love to be a little busier. I find orders fluctuate, and although this is a hobby business, I'd like more from it. Now, it must be said, Anna, I'm not keen on the word hobby because I think if you're running a business, you're running a business. But that obviously doesn't mean you have to be doing it 24/7. If you want to be doing it one day a week or a few hours a week, that's brilliant. That's part of your plan. But come out of the mindset of thinking it is just a hobby because there's so many things you can do with a business that is small. She says, I do floral cupcakes, which isn't huge in my area. So I'd like to be known for that and be more popular with weddings and offer packages to make things easier for the bride and groom. There we go. You see, you've got so many ideas there and so many things that you can do. So get out of that hobby business thinking and into the what I can offer these couples for their weddings, because I'm sure you'll be absolutely fabulous. Who have we got next? Cozy Bakes. Hello, Cozy Bakes. I don't know your name, unfortunately, but I love the name, Cozy Bakes. Cozy Bakes says, I'd like to build a regular customer base with my cake shed opening tomorrow, she said. This was written last week, so I presume it's open now, so you must tell us how it's going. And from that to get in a weekly baking routine to the point where I can add postal as an option. Fantastic. I struggle with anxiety. That's quite a common thing, my lovely. And being around people, so I feel like the cake shed and postal route would be perfect to allow me to make an income from baking. Absolutely. Lots and lots of people do that. You don't have to be face to face with people to have a successful baking business at all. But absolutely, there's so many bakers that do that. Cake shed, postal, all sorts of possibilities in there. So what you can do from that is work out your goals. When you're going to start the postal, get yourself a date. I'm always talking about dates and deadlines. If you have a date to head for, it really focuses your brain into getting it sorted out. And think about the goals for your cake shed. How many items do you want to sell? And that in turn will tell you how visible you need to be and how you need to get out there in your area and tell people about it. But absolutely doable, my lovely. And finally, we have Mary's Bakes. I love this one. This is short and sweet, and I hear this all the time. And in fact, it was my goal when I first started. And Mary's Bake says, I would love to go full time with my business and able to no longer depend on my 9 to 5 job. Absolutely fantastic. That was my goal when I came out of teaching and I set up my baking business. I didn't want to go back into teaching, but I was so determined to build my business. And that part of that determination came from, I don't want to be employed again. I don't want to go back into a job. And I see a lot of bakers. I know there's a couple of the members of the academy who are wanting to reduce their hours so that eventually they can go full time with their business. But their plan is to reduce perhaps to 3 days a week, to 2 days a week, whatever. And you can do that gradually. You don't have to have just a cut-off time, although I know lots of businesses do that too. But that's a fabulous, fabulous goal. And everything that you do, Mary's Bakes, will be part of making sure that that happens. Love it. Absolutely love it. So there we are. So those are some of my bakers and some of the goals that they have. So I hope this episode has been eye-opening for you. If you are someone that hasn't really thought about setting goals, then start to get into that mindset, because to run a successful business, which is what I want to help people do, you need to get those goals in place. Now, December in the Academy membership, we're going to be talking about goals. We are going to be setting ourselves up so that in January we can start, as they say, start running? No, running start. I knew it was in there somewhere. We'll have a running start in January. And I have a process that I was taught. We actually start from your goal. What it is do you want? Do you want holidays? Do you want a new car? Do you want to move house? Do you want to pay your bills? What is it that you want? And we work backwards from there. So what have you got to sell in your business to achieve that? And I have a whole process that we go through in December, step by step, to actually plan that out. It's not overwhelming. It's, as I said, it's step by step. It's all recorded. A lot of the members don't actually come onto the live sessions. Quite a few of them do, which is lovely because we have a chat as well. But a lot of members watch the sessions afterwards because they're all in the training library there, ready. But we're going to think about goals. So it's not going to be overwhelming. We're going to keep it fairly simple, but we're going to have it detailed enough for it to actually make a difference in your business. And that is what I want to achieve. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Do let me know what you think. Please leave a review for me, or you can email me. All the details, all my contact details are in the show notes. Let me know what you think and tell me what your goals are. I'd love to know. Details of the Academy are also in the show notes. So if you'd like to come and join, have a look at the details. If you're not sure, do get in touch if you need to know any more. So thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.